Hi, thanks for joining us again. Roger with Steampunked Out Nemesis Gear, here with another tips, tricks, and how-to video for you. Today we're going to be doing a short video on rivet setting. We're going to focus on quick rivets. That's what we use here at Steampunked Out most of the time. And we're going to show you how to properly set the rivets and decide which rivets to use for which tasks. So let's get zoomed in on our workspace here, and that way you can see a little bit better what we're doing. Alright, so I'm zoomed in really pretty close here on several different rivets. These are all double cap quick rivets, and when I mean double cap, I'm talking about, so the cap itself, the part that you set, is it has a domed surface that, it's made to be, the outside, and then the bottom of the cap also looks the same. The shaft itself. The post, the back side does not have the hole in it that like the standard tube rivets do. And the reason that I like these is it really makes them a little bit more multifunctional, so you can use them on, it doesn't matter which direction you have facing out. And there's times when it's really hard to set a rivet, is you really should use your setter on the cap side if you can. Typically, you can do it from either side, but I find I get a much better set if I can do it from the cap side to make sure that I've got a good set on it. But this way, if you have to set it from the other side, or you have to set it from the inside, it doesn't matter which direction you put the rivet in. You still have a good facing for the outside for the viewable part instead of having a front and a back. I also think that you have less chance of catching or peeling up the edge of the rivet on the back side too. These are a little bit better, but they come in loads of different lengths here, and as you can see, these are this is a tiny micro rivet here. It's a mini quick rivet, and then we have like the extra small, the small, the medium, and the large. And the reason that these are different lengths is because when you're deciding which rivet to use, you want to make sure that the rivet isn't overly long, because that will cause the shaft on these rivets to bend sideways, and you'll end up with the caps offset, one on one side and one on the other, and you don't get a good set with that. As these, unlike a pop rivet or something that you use for metalworking, they don't collapse. With those, a lot of times, doesn't matter what length you have, you just keep setting it, and it keeps going, smaller and smaller. These don't. So you want to find the right length of rivet depending on the thickness of leather that you use. So even if you're, this is like closer to a 4 or 5 ounce thin strip here. This is a little bit thicker. This is about a 5/6. This is an 8 ounce type leather, and it really depends on what you're connecting for this to work. So when you choose your rivet length, you want to make sure. Let's just start. I use a lot of the small rivets, and so I'm just going to do a couple of quick holes here so you can see. And on this small rivet, if I put it through my 8 ounce leather like this, and then I put this piece of 5/6 on there. Now, what I'm looking for is to have this rivet sticking out just a little bit. Just should feel like a bump. If you've got that, then you've really got a really good set for that. If your rivet is too long, say our total thickness was this, you can see how much of that rivet is sticking out. That's going to be more likely to bend. And you can fudge these just a little bit on the shorter rivets. They're a little bit easier to squash down a little bit on the inside when you do your set. But the bigger the rivet is, the harder it is to do that, and the more important it is to try to get as close to the size you can. And if you can't find, like if this one is too long and this one is too short, then you're better off actually taking the shorter rivet and then skiving or sanding down one of your leather pieces on the back side a little bit to make the leather just a little bit thinner until you get the right thickness. Because if you use a rivet that is too thick, it's going to bend over on you, and that can shift your leather and cause all kinds of just cosmetic problems. It doesn't look very good. So regardless of what type of rivet you use, long or small and everything, the setting is pretty much the same. And what we're trying to do when we set these rivets is we're going to put the rivet through the leather, and then we're going to take the corresponding cap that's for the right size, and we're going to slip that right onto the shaft there. And you actually have this is not set yet. You could pull this off, but it's already kind of holding its place, and that's what you want. You want it to be able to sit in there good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and you really don't want to smack this hard one time. You're right. It's just like anything else. What we're trying to do is take the very tip of the rivet itself and kind of like mushroom it out, so that we're bradding the tip open so that the tip becomes wider, and that way it does not slip out of the cap. So when you put these together here, if you're smashing the top of that shaft down, this cap can't come off anymore, and that's where your holding power is. So you want to do that. You want to find a rivet setter that is is close to the same size cap as you have. This is my small setter. It works well for my smaller rivets. For my larger rivets, the ones that are large, I guess medium size and large, they have a bigger head on them, and I use a setter that with a corresponding size to the head. It should overhang the rivet just a little bit. And really, all we're doing on this, I'm going to move these over so that they don't bounce off. All we're doing on this is we're going to put our setter on here, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see these. And we're going to put our rivet setter directly on top of the rivet head, and then we're going to work it slow first. I find tapping it 2 or 3 times at a light to medium strength, and then increasing in strength after we've already started the set on the rivet. So we're just going to, and it really doesn't take much. It's super simple. It might take a little bit of practice, but the biggest thing that you want to do is make sure that you have the proper length of rivet. And you can use on these setters. They have a slight dome to the inside here, and that's going to leave that nice finished rounded side. If you set this on either like a mini anvil like this, these work great, especially if you're trying to get on something with a curve and you need to put it so that it hangs down on either side. I often, for just flat straps and stuff like that, I'll use a good solid piece of granite, and they set just fine on that. But for the domed side here, this is usually the facing side. It's got a nice shape to it. If for some reason you have to set it from the back side and then you want to flip it over, you can flip this over, and this rivet is kind of flat on this side. You can take that same rivet setter, put it on the back side where it's flat, hit it once or twice lightly, and that's going to dome that back out so that it's got a nice domed proper rivet set. So again, like I say, like if we're going to go to a thicker setup here, here's 2 6-ounce pieces or 8-ounce pieces of leather, and for that we're going to go up to a medium rivet instead of the small. And again, this is bordering on being too long, but it's still usable. It's just I can grab hold of it with my finger, but it sticks out a little farther. But this is still settable. And all we're going to do is just, again, put our cap on there, make sure that the cap is set where it's going to be. I'm going to use my larger rivet setter here, and the same process. Again, start lightly with increasing pressure of blows, and it should take you, for me, I say a minimum of 4 strikes. If you're not hitting it at least 4 times, then you're probably working it too fast, and you're going to increase the chances of bending the rivet. So I guess at that time I actually hit it 6 times, but you can look at this from the side and kind of rotate it back and forth and make sure that you have proper alignment on that rivet and you know that it's set well. So that's pretty much the trick for these. There's all kinds of other types of rivets. The same principle applies for most of those, whether or not it's the tubular rivets or with the open backside instead of the double caps like this, or even the kind that are shaft, like the copper ones that have a washer and you work it down. Don't hit it one time trying to set it like on your first hit. That's really not that. When you're doing any kind of metalworking, you want to work it slow and even. So small taps, work it lots of times until give that metal a chance to bend on the top where you're hitting it, and not bend the shaft over. So hopefully that's helpful for you. If you like our videos, please like, subscribe, share videos with your friends. You can find us on YouTube. We're also uploading videos to Facebook. And check out our websites, steampunkedout.com and nemesisgear.com. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be back again with some more demo videos for you soon. Thanks for watching.